Hey Nympham, and welcome to the FPL midweek show. So we've had a little switch up on the name change, and myself and Mez are back with you to chat all things FPL, and we're kind of a little ahead of ourselves here because obviously game week 33 hasn't finished yet, and to be honest, we're not really in the throes of it much either. But you know what? It is what it is. The games are so thick and fast at the moment that you got to do what you got to do. So we're here with you, and we're going to try our best to cover as much as we can for this particular fixture and the up-and-coming fixtures as well. So, how you doing, Mez? Are you all good?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I'm really good. It feels a bit different doing it on a Wednesday and then in the evening for me. And we were just joking earlier that I'm yawning either way, whether it was early morning or later in the evening. But and I've got a different drink in tow, not my usual sort of sipping on double shots of coffee. But I've got
I've got the coffee today.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice, love it. So I've had some blood drawn today, so I'm feeling a little the vampires have been after me. So the sugar, I've been intaking the sugar, and we're all good. But I guess the best way to kind of get us flowing into FPL is to take a bit of a look of our teams first, and then we're going to do some Q&A, guys, so do feel free to get your questions in the chat. We do have some on Twitter as well, so we will be kind of covering as many questions as we can for you, but we'll just kind of delve into our teams initially, and hopefully that'll help a little bit as well with anyone else having some dilemmas, because I'm sure there'll be a few people in the same boats with similar-ish teams, probably to you and I, because the template's been pretty strong, hasn't it, until recently? But I think this week has switched it up a little bit, so should be interesting.
I think there's a new template forming though. It feels like, because you and I did you wildcard in 26, or was it, or 27?
Yep, I think 26. I think,
Yeah,
and
I think I wildcarded like a week later. Or I can't remember if it was 27 or 28.
Yeah.
But we obviously thought about the blanks and the doubles coming up around this sort of region, and we knew that we were probably going to free hit in 33, and then maybe try and sort of navigate 34 as well. But I started to see some wildcard drafts appearing for 33, and of course there is a whole bunch of people who are trying to wildcard in 34 as well. And it's interesting that they're not that dissimilar to where we've probably landed after a couple of transfers that we've made as well. So it's really interesting to see that the template is emerging again. It's fairly strong for going into the final stretch now.
Yeah, absolutely. Just off the back of my brain, this could be wrong. You had Mings, right, before you wildcarded.
Don't stop it.
So I was just thinking about that last night. I was like, oh, Mira, because I remember you had him for ages, and then wildcarded him out, and then he's just been absolute gold since.
Seriously, you just couldn't make this stuff up. I had him for so long as well, and just benefited from those earlier hauls and just those clean sheets as well. And especially after like Gerard left as well, and anyway, so I wildcarded him out, and I've just been watching him from the sidelines pretty much, and every time someone sort of mentions Mings Hall, there'll always be someone on Twitter as well that will say, Mira, didn't you have him? And I'm like, yes, thanks for reminding me. Yes.
I mean, I got him in Sky a couple of weeks ago when somebody got injured. I think it was Saliba, and I was really panicking on who to buy. And with Sky, it's a slightly different format to FPL, so you kind of have to try and think, will it cover certain game weeks, and again, they're more long-term moves because you only get a certain amount of transfers. But off the top of my head, inspired somehow, I got him in for Saliba, and it was funny because that week Cash scored, and I was like, "Oh, I've gone for the wrong one."
Yeah, that's right.
And I just
there was a couple of moments.
Yeah, a couple of moments, but he's been gold ever since, and it's really funny because my friend Paul, who I chat Sky to, was like, whenever he does something now, I just instantly think of you and how you got him in Sky, and I'm like, yeah, should have done it in FPL though.
I feel like it's been like that with a lot of the Villa defenders, right? Like Dean has been a pain, a thorn for a lot of us. You know,
he's a proper
Marcus. Yeah, I saw Bateman in the chat there as well, and you know he's been a bane of his his sort of FPL
laugh. Yeah,
but it's been much the same with some of the other defenders as well. So I feel like but Mings has been fairly consistent this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit gutted that I dropped him and then haven't really looked back. Maybe stubbornly haven't really looked back.
Right. Well, on that note, let's move on to your team currently. And this is your team. It's up on screen now. And just chat us through your best team for game week 34 a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So 34. So like I mentioned, you know, we obviously planned a little bit around it. I know you and I sort of wildcarded at different sort of, you know, different periods, you know, just by 1 week or so. But still we were, you know, I remember sort of talking to you about it, that we were talking about, you know, having the right players ready for the blanks and the doubles coming up. So with this, with the draft that I've got at the moment, obviously I haven't made any transfers whatsoever, but I've sort of landed in a position where I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 doublers at the moment, and it's very likely that I'm probably going to bring in. I've got 2 free transfers going into game week 34 as well. So it's very likely that I'm going to bring in 2 more doublers. I mean, looking at my team, you can see I have no Liverpool players, and being a massive Liverpool supporter, it's a bit bizarre not having Liverpool players, and I've gone into game week 33 without Liverpool players as well, and I'm absolutely I'm just gonna say I'm shitting it at the moment because I don't know what that's going to do, because I know the EO is really high for Salah and Trent. You know, a lot of teams have got Trent in there as well, especially those that have started to wildcard after, you know, Liverpool started to pick up the form as well.
Yeah.
So look, it's very likely that I'm going to bring in Salah, and Saka might be making way, you know, for Salah.
Yeah.
Kane's going to make way as well, because I need the cash. You know, my TV has been so crap this season. I think last season I was jumping on whatever players that were doing really well, and sort of, you know, I was treating it like this, I don't know, stocks and shares, right? Yeah. I'm sort of like, oh, this is fun. I can sort of make a little bit of value over here. Yeah. It was a world that I understood anyway. While I was still learning about FPL. But I've not really been doing that this season. So this season I've been a little bit more patient and, you know, making moves and sort of, you know, playing with a bit of a strategy in mind. And so my team value is really, really bad. So yeah, it's a bit, it's annoying because I can't get some of the players that I wanted to. And this week, I know, I imagine we'll talk about that a little bit, but it's been an absolute cluster F with the price rises and the price drops that we've had as well. And I don't know, again, stubbornly, maybe patiently sort of waiting for, you know, some more news and working out whether I wanted Salah or not, whether I wanted Trent or not. And I didn't make on some of those, you know, make those moves. And I've still got Chilwell in my team, but I was quite surprised how high Chilwell's, you know, EO was as well. Yeah. So look, I'm probably going to bring in Trent. So Chilwell's going to make way for Trent, and I'm probably going to bring in Salah. In fact, I was reading something today where if I don't go Salah, it's probably going to be KDB. And
interesting.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a curveball there, because you know, obviously everyone's leaning towards Salah, but you know, I'm thinking about my third City player as well, and so maybe KDB might sort of, you know, make an appearance instead of Salah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I did mention him, didn't I, in the last stream we did a couple of weeks back now, and I said nobody's really looking at him because, you know, I think it was when Beth was on, and
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he's actually just ticked away nicely. I think the the kind of concern, I guess, is does Jota cover Salah if you wanted, and could you do Jota and KDB? Otherwise, it's going out without that kind of really highly percentage owned Salah, isn't it?
Yeah,
And that's where
yeah.
I guess the concern is.
That's right. That's right. And so I can't work out at the moment anyway whether I want two Liverpool defenders instead.
Hmm.
Just noting that Liverpool's got two home fixtures as well, and it would make sense to have, like a Robertson or a Van Dijk or something like that. But yeah, I think with Jota and Darwin and Gakpo and Diaz, they're all sort of sharing that sort of those places up in the front.
Yeah.
So I think it's always going to be a little bit tricky. I think Gakpo's fairly nailed there. Jota's playing really well at the moment. I can't see
Mm.
him not starting majority of the matches now between now and the end of the season. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be interesting how that sort of front line shapes up in general.
Mm.
But I can see like Diaz's fitness is getting better as well. And, we're probably going to see minutes coming in from Firmino if he, makes his fitness as well towards the end. So I think like for 34 though, I don't think Jota's a bad shout. If anything, I would probably I'm likely to be taking a -4 at the moment, the way it stands. I mean, I can make 2 free transfers and get Chilwell and Kane out for
So you've
Salah
got
and Trent.
7 doublers, right? So that would give you 9. Is that right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
would give me 9 and
Hmm.
then maybe the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For the
so,
-8.
yeah, so an extra
Mm.
third one
Yeah.
for a -4.
Oh, mine's
But
4. Yes, because you've got the 2. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's probably the majority of the one-time hits I've taken, like up to a
Yeah.
-4. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Um, yeah, I'm curious if I'm going to kind of lean towards a -8 or not this time
Mm.
round. And I think there'll be so many hits flying around that I don't mind taking a -4. And if I
Mm.
do, then I'll probably downgrade Watkins as well. So I'd probably be ending up playing 3-5-2. And yeah, that's very likely. And then I might end up, benching Botman as he is, benched at the moment. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I'm thinking, as it
Mm.
stands. But with the front line, I'm not sure who I want to bring in. I don't know if
I
I
know.
definitely want to bring in a Jota or a
Mm.
Darwin or an Isaac,
I
or
know.
there's so many different
I
options.
know.
Um, I
That
even started eyeing up Alvarez. If I don't go KDB, is
nice.
Alvarez an option?
Yeah, potentially. I think that's where tonight will hopefully help a little bit in that
Mm.
respect, because in fact I'll pop mine on screen now so you guys can see. So I'm fairly similar, only I've benched Kane and Watkins because I think the likelihood is I'll be selling Kane this week. So
Mhm.
so I think maybe even tonight, depending on how things go. So I know he won't be there anymore, and the likelihood is that I'll bring Salah in for Saka.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, I mean, Chelsea haven't been brilliant in defence, and I do
They
not
might prove us
love.
wrong.
Well, I don't love selling Saka. Like, so we both played our City and Arsenal players this week, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Over March, which the one thing I have to say for game week 34 I'm quite happy about is the fact that I don't have to choose which one of March or Matoma that I have to start.
I know. And I benched McAllister. So,
Oh,
I
McAllister,
benched
yeah,
the guy
because
that's
you're
got
different.
pens as well.
Yeah, mad. It's just, yeah, it was impossible this week to try and
Mm.
decide, wasn't it? But I think I want to see about Jota tonight, because I may, like yourself, try and look a bit differently, because obviously a lot of people have gone early on the Salah and Isaac
Mm.
route. And whilst I really like Salah, if Jota is matching him again tonight, there could
Yeah.
be a call to just do something a little bit different. So maybe, Kane can become Jota and then Saka can become like you said, maybe a KDB or even a Bernardo or you know, somebody else. Maybe even McAllister. And just go 3 Brighton lads in midfield.
Yeah, okay.
So there's still a little bit of kind of thought process with me. I think am I potentially, hang on, let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm one less than you on the doublers because obviously you got De Gea in, so you've got the goalkeeper doubler. Did agonise this week, as you know, whether to get Trent in and already have, or even a Stupinan and already have an extra doubler for game week 34. Either way, it was going to be for a hit. So I just feel like I'll probably just take the -8 in game week 34 with the information that I have from, you know, tonight and tomorrow night. And I think, I'll probably, it's a lot. I don't love it. And that's why I'm potentially considering my options in what I do. Because if I'm -8 just to have the same team as everyone else, then I'm just going to be slightly behind in points, really. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. Because, you know, like we were saying, the template's actually forming for the wildcarders in 33, and there are wildcarders in 34 as well. So, and it's not that dissimilar to some of the players that we've got, right? So you've got your typical sort of, you know, you've got your, you know, your 3 Brighton players, you know, many have all 3 mids, right? The typical, the usual suspects there. Some have got a Stupinan, which I have, and you know, I've seen a few dunks, you know, like flying around as well. And but there's of course going to be United players in there, at least, you know, 2. Everyone's counting on Bruno to be back as well. So maybe he'll be back. Who knows?
Who knows?
But yeah, there's a lot of people.
I'm kind of hoping that he does, because I think that may give a lot of people a headache on whether they go for Salah or not. And
or KDB.
Or KDB,
exactly.
So I think it would be really good maybe for that to be a thing.
I reckon so. I reckon
Joelinton is also in my thought process. So if I went Jota up front, I'm actually maybe considering Joelinton for Saka. Yes, that gives me a lot of money, but it would be no problem then to get Trent in defence, if you see what I mean. So that's why I think I've kind of held back a little bit, because it was so tempting to do Isak and Salah this, like so tempted. Like, you will not believe how close. I literally had it on the transfer page, and I was like, and something just went, just wait, just see out this week and wait.
The urge was strong. The urge was strong, because I brought Isak in on my free hit in 32, right? So, you know, for me, it was like, oh, no brainer. You know, why would I not bring in Isak for Everton? And then, you know, there's a whole flurry of good fixtures for Newcastle as well. And they're, you know, I mean, after they're sort of battering 3-0, you know, with Villa, they've actually sort of, they responded, and boy, did they respond, right? Like I think I tuned in 10 minutes in and I was horrified with the score, but very happy because I think Isak had just put his first goal in or something. So yeah, it was very tempting to go Isak, but I think now that we're seeing people are now thinking beyond 34 as well. So now that we've got 34 on our sort of doorstep, managers are starting to think about 35 and 36, and then the other doubles that are coming up for a couple of teams as well. So yeah, you know, they're not the best, you know, especially for the Brighton mids that we all have as well. But I don't know, maybe, you know, even in the chat, I've just seen that there's a lot of people asking about, surely Isak is the obvious sort of pick.
Yeah,
you know, here like going from Kane to Isak, right?
My mod Kurt Yoy in the chat there. He's had him since game week 29. He doesn't mean to brag or nothing, but he's done all right out of him, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, maybe he isn't the pick, because you know, he could haul.
It's the rotation thing, isn't it? Like, do we think with all the stacked up games that Newcastle have got, Do we think that he definitely starts every game? I mean, he will have minutes in every game. I don't think that's even an issue. But it's, does he start? Does he come on? Does he start and go off early? Like, what's the situation there? Because it's not like Wilson has come on and done nothing, not that he did much in the last match, but he's still managing to get some returns when he comes on. So it's all a bit kind of up in the air. Do apologise if you can hear some background noise. I am doggy sitting at the moment, so every now and again you might hear a yap or two at the people mowing their lawn next door. So that's my team, and I will be taking a -8. And at the moment, obviously,
is that a definite?
I'm pretty sure, because I don't know, because seeing Brentford, so seeing Raya and Henry against Nottingham Forest at home, it is tempting, maybe not, or even just to play Watkins potentially, because you could just see Watkins trolling us that the week we bench him.
Don't start on Watkins as well. Jeez.
He might. So I think it's likely, most definitely a -4 for sure.
Okay.
That's locked in.
Yeah.
And then it'll just be a little bit whether or not to kind of go that extra and take the -8, because I'm one behind all of you. That'll only get me to 10, if you see what I mean. So, so that's why it's potentially a -8. But I'll think on it, because it may depend on tonight's fixtures and tomorrow night's fixtures, and how the likes of Brentford do in defence, that sort of vibe, and then get an idea off of it. But just at the time of recording, obviously the very obvious picks would be Isak and Salah, but it'd be really nice if, and Trent, but or even Jota, somebody else in midfield, maybe a Brighton mid or a KDB if you could afford that, and then a Trent or a Robertson. But I think,
I have to admit, I think, like you, I think we've both been thinking about the different players now, rather than the obvious sort of picks. And chasing, not necessarily chasing last week's sort of, points and stuff, but it does feel like it a little bit. I think it's easy to get to that point when you're, I remember sort of feeling that way last year towards the end of the season as well. It was sort of like, I'm not sure what I want entirely, but I'm going to try and pick a few sort of future thinking ones that that I'd like to pick. But also it felt like I was looking back a lot as well towards the end. So I wonder if that's the case as well, because there are some really good picks now, like for the front as well. So I think it's worth making a bit of a punt there, having a punt on like Darwin or on Jota.
Yeah, agreed. It's kind of scary, because you always have that internal monologue of, am I happy with my particular rank now? Do I wanna, if I step away from the pack, am I happy to slip further behind? Obviously, you have like a nice little buffer, being as high up as you are. Would you like to tell the lovely people where you are OR-wise, so they know?
Well, before Mings's sort of haul
Buffered
yesterday,
that a little bit.
let's forget about that for a moment, because I've only had Watkins play otherwise. I was sitting just under 8k.
I think
at
like
the end of the last game week.
It's nice being somewhere like that, because you can really kind of go, oh well, actually, am I okay with 20k if I go for this and it and it fails? Whereas kind of I've dropped a little bit, so I was kind of 33, I think, and then I'm close now to the edge of the 40s. So I would really love to stay in that 50k and not, not drop off. So I have to choose my battles a little bit wisely. But I am definitely, like yourself, trying to think outside the box, and I'm hoping tonight and tomorrow will help with that box a little bit.
Do you feel, I know like this wasn't one of the questions. I was going to hammer a few more questions at us, but I thought it'd be a bit odd doing that on our own our own stream. But do you feel like you're chasing, or are you defending?
That is a good question. I think I probably see myself as defending. So I've been pretty template on a lot of the big moves so far. So I've done a few little different things along the way, but when it's come to things like wildcards or free hits or whatever, they've been pretty template. Even on my free hit, though, I did try to be a bit different. Even though I chose the same players, I did try to play, like, actually start different. Start different players, like starting Eze, for instance, over Solanke and things like that. So I did try to be a little bit different with it, even though I was getting in the same kind of players. Although, yeah, the two things that really kind of got to me with the free hit was, where did the sharp hit come from? Like, literally everyone seemed to have him in their teams for the free hit, and I just never seen that anywhere. And the Castagna pick as well, last minute. It's like everyone suddenly had Castagna and Shah, and I was like, "What?"
I think, I know we didn't do a stream last week, of course, but it was really bizarre having that much money in the bank, right?
Yes,
because we didn't have the premiums, right, to pick, and so most people went for whatever they could. I mean, I think everyone had the Kane picks or the Salah, picks, or just went for, the 7. I don't know. I think there was Solanke, and then there was like 7 mil up to about 9 mil with the Jota, like sort of on that sort of end of the price range there. And so, I had something like 5 mil sitting in the bank, and I was thinking, do I just get a really expensive defender? And I think I wonder if that's what's happened. People picked Shah like or Share, is it? Because it was okay to, and I held on to Gabrielle, in my defense.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was thinking, my gut was also saying white, but I was like, oh, but I've got money, so why not spend it? Take my money,
Yeah, have it. It's that gif in it.
And now, this week, I'm like, shit, I'm down, minus 0.2 on, Chilwell, and then Kane dropped as well, and
it's been an absolute nightmare in terms of price changes this week, for sure, if you didn't kind of jump on the bandwagons. And it feels like this season, compared to previous seasons where the wildcards didn't count towards the price rises and drops, it kind of feels that they might be doing this season, which is interesting. FPL Junkie has put in the chat, I'm not sure if you've seen, but March starts tonight. Oh no! He's on my bench, so I need, like, if Grealish just decides he wants the evening off, I'd be very happy with that from an Arsenal point of view and from an FPL point of view.
Yeah,
just bench him, Pep, and don't bring him on. Foden deserves a run, he does. But I did stupidly bench March this week, but I say stupidly, I mean, there was no benching Watkins, and I couldn't really bench any other of my front three, and you know what, it was going to hurt if I benched Grealish and he did anything against Arsenal, so I couldn't do that. And I know a lot of the big content creators benched their Arsenal midfielders, mostly because they had Odegaard, I think, and he seemed less of a threat maybe as Saka or Martinelli, although I'd argue that isn't necessarily the case. But he just sometimes goes a little bit longer between his hauls, but when he gets his hauls, they're usually decent. But I just couldn't do it because it was like one last ride, I guess, because I knew the likelihood was that I was going to be selling Saka this week, right? So it was kind of, trying to do something I had to play him pretty much. And I hope little Chilly turns up tonight. I really do.
Yeah, I to and froed on that for a long time because the deadline was 3 a.m. as well for me over
Mm.
here. And, I had a couple of people that I was chatting to about it saying, "Oh, you're gonna wake up at 2:50 something to have a look." And I was like, "Oh,
No.
hell no.
No.
I love my sleep, so there's no way I was waking
No
up
way.
early for that."
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I was content. I was content with, with what I picked. There wasn't a strong urge or desire to take a hit or to, even sort of take out Chilwell and play Robertson because I could have gone straight to Robertson as well. But I did want Trent in, so
Mhm.
and mostly for 34 as well. And I don't know, like I think a lot of people went early on Salah to take the hit or because they were wildcarding and rightfully so, right? If you're wildcarding, it makes perfect sense to do that. Um, but I wouldn't say, and I will eat my words entirely. I know tomorrow, tomorrow for me anyway, when Liverpool play West Ham, whether Salah was actually essential or not. So
Mm.
we'll find out. Um,
I think
I
the thing with
noticed like
Salah
someone,
is his record
yeah,
against West Ham. So I think there was two schools of thinking this week. There was those that were thinking West Ham are coming off of the back of a high and a win, and they're doing, decently at the moment. And then you've got your other pool of thinking, which is Salah loves to do well against West Ham. And so I think kind of that's
that's a
where
great narrative.
the big divide has happened this week. Like literally that is
Yeah.
where we've gone, oh, those people that have gone, I definitely need Salah because he does brilliant against West Ham. And then those that are like, well, I'm willing to wait and see how he does against someone like West Ham who has been doing better
Yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
decide. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think I really don't know if it's worth kind of talking about that too much as well, just
Mm.
because we'll find out in a few hours,
Yeah.
what sort of comes off that. But yeah, I think Liverpool's sort of track record is not great, hasn't been
Mm.
great this season away. But look, game week 34, they're playing two games at home.
Yeah.
So and they're
So
decent
let's hope
fixtures as
that
well.
that away stays the same tonight.
Yeah, I really
And
hope
then,
so
yeah.
because, like I'm enjoying the rank that I'm on at the
Mm.
moment, and it's a shame that it's quick game weeks that we've got at the moment as well, so can't really enjoy that rank for too long. But look, it is what it is as well. So
Mm.
let's see what happens. Kane brace is what I'm counting on.
Oh, please. If there's a time for Harry Kane, let it be tonight.
Yeah.
Is it tonight they're playing tomorrow night? Let it be this
Well,
game week 33.
no, I think it's on Thursday, right? Like I think
Thursday.
that match
Right,
is.
okay,
I
so
think that's the
tomorrow
last
evening.
match
Yes.
of the game week. Yeah,
Yeah.
for me it's Friday morning.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if there's a time for Harry Kane, please, game week 33,
Mm-mm.
now's your time. Just to
Yeah.
say to the Nim fam, thank you so much for joining in. I know this is a slightly awkward time potentially in the UK, but we're kind of hopefully including some of you from around the world. So do let me know where you're tuning in from today in the chat. We're at 6,450 and subs, and I would love to make 7k before the end of the season. I know that's a massive ask, but if you haven't already, please do sub. Your name should pop up somewhere on screen as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you'd be really helping me out. And on that note, we're going to get to answering some questions. So let me just pull this over here so I can see what's going on. We've got some cool regulars in the chat. We've got Neil. Hey,
Yeah, it's
Neil.
great to see everyone.
And Nick. Good day. Back from down under. Okay, and Dizzy. Okay, what we got? 10 doublers and 34 is fantastic with Salah in for Saka and perhaps Jota in for Kane. Wuhan said when you were discussing your team. Are we considering a move for any City defenders in Game Week 34? Muhan's bringing in Edison. So, thoughts
Yeah, nice.
on City defence?
Yeah, I think so we just heard Ake is out, today or tomorrow for or today actually for you, most that are watching the game tonight. So confusing. Yeah, so Ake is out. So I think Laporte will probably play. I was chatting to someone, about that earlier. Looks like Laporte might play in that position. It's really hard, isn't it, to pick the City defenders, and I think Edison's a really good shout because he's very, very much nailed. And like, you know, can you imagine if he actually got subbed? That would be hilarious. You know, side note. But
Yeah,
no,
because he
like
did
I think
like seem to
Edison.
pick up a bit of an injury, didn't he, in the last
Yeah,
match?
yeah, something like that. And, you know, I don't want to put doubts in everyone's heads, you know, about that. Of course, you know, very unlikely. But no, Edison's a really good shout. I had Edison for a while this season, and they didn't keep any clean sheets. But and you know, he didn't really make that many saves either. So he didn't really get that many points. You know, for me personally, but yeah, I think for the final run of the season, Edison's a really good shout. Pope's a really good shout as well. For I've got De Gea, you know, in goal as well. But you know, I actually had Stones on my mind as well, or Stones in my
Yeah.
mind. That can be taken entirely the wrong way as well. But but yeah, no, Stones has been playing really well as well. But I
Yeah.
think, you know, his minutes might be managed as well. I'm not sure. Will he play both, you know, doubles? Yeah, it's hard to say. And I think if you really want a nailed City defender or defense in general, Edison, maybe Diaz is probably the best ones.
Yeah, agreed. I think you might be taking a bit of a risk with Stones. It's kind of a risk reward type situation there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm gonna pop to the questions on Twitter because I know we had a fair few, and I'd like to also get through some of those. So Mira asked, "Do we hold Watkins?"
Who's Mira? That's a great question.
I know, that's a great question. I wonder who she is. Yeah. So
what do you reckon?
I reckon there'll be other fires to put out, probably. And we probably won't want to spend those fires on Watkins when we could just potentially bench him, as you know, we're gonna want to play 5 in mid. We know we want to bring in some of those double game week defenders. So I think unless you don't have Kane, and you're already fairly cheap up front, and you can kind of maybe move it, you know, a Watkins onto a Jota or an Isak or somebody with some more doublers down the line.
Yeah.
Then potentially, but what I will say about Watkins is he yes, he's been overperforming in his stats, but at the same time, he was going to drop off at some point. But that doesn't mean that he won't then, you know, jump back on again at some point. And he does have nice fixtures until the end of the season.
Yeah,
so
no, he does.
I don't think he's a priority this week. It's only if he facilitates potentially another doubler for game week 34 for you. Is probably my answer.
I think what I've got on my mind in particular is if I take a -8, then I will probably move Watkins onto like a Greenwood or something just to free up some cash.
Yeah,
Free up the cash if I wanted an additional defender, or you know, to bring, because I think I'll be losing all of my Arsenal mids through the next transfer that I make for 34. So you know, I'll want Saka. Will I want Saka back? Will I want Martinelli back? Right? Like, I'm not sure. So I need to free up the cash as well. So I'm kind of committing a little bit. Like, I think many people will be thinking about this as well. I'm committing to 3-5-2 at the moment.
Agreed. Yeah, it's more so as well in being able to play those 5 mids most weeks, isn't it? And not have that benching. Not have that, because if you have got Watkins with good fixtures, you are going to be tempted to want to play him. So, you know, if you know you've got a Greenwood, it's just like, well, he's on bench and I will play my 5 mids. So I see your point. I don't know whether it's necessarily needed this week. It could be.
It's not essential.
It could be, let's see what he does in the single compared to doublers. And if he's good again, then you know, it's kind of a nice headache to have. But if he doesn't perform again in against, say, Man United, then you can go, right, well, that's 2 blanks now in a row. You know, could we maybe shift him on, move that money in midfield?
Yeah, definitely.
Gareth, Geddy FPL says, would you sell Raya? He plays Forest home for De Gea, 2 fixtures in game week 34. This one I'm unsure about, because a couple of game weeks ago, like around when you wildcarded me, I would have been like, yes, do it. Absolutely. Get De Gea in, get those extra fixtures, bish, bash, bosh. But, you know, United have been interesting in defence, let's say, recently.
Yeah, they have, haven't they?
They did well.
That's a tough one,
they did well against Brighton, although some would argue that De Gea won without actually making any, without conceding. Without actually making any saves, because he still conceded in the penalties. So
yeah, look, I actually think it's a good shout to keep Raya. You know, because let's say United concede twice, right? It's very likely that Raya, who's Raya playing? Brentford are playing.
So they have Forest. Yeah. That's why I've got that slight dilemma, because I've got Henry and Raya, so I could play those both as single game week players. But, you know, Forest, they can still score goals. It's not an actual, foregone conclusion.
Aren't they fighting relegation as well? So, yeah, they're gonna try. I think I think we're going to see a lot of unexpected outcomes, you know, over the next the double, because they're all happening really quickly as well. And 35, you know, game week 35 is going to be here before we know it as well. So there's a lot of matches very quickly, and I think we're just going to expect a lot of surprises as well along the way.
Yeah, agreed. So I think what I'd probably say is I don't think it's needed necessarily. It will be good to see how United do this game week.
Yeah, if it's a free transfer, go for it. Yeah, I mean, if it's for a hit, free, probably not.
Yeah,
don't do it.
I'm not loving many of the double game week goalkeepers. That's the issue I think most people have, is that, you know, with Edison, he's nailed, but then you're always a bit kind of like, you went through that whole stage of having him, and he was conceding in the last few minutes every couple of weeks.
Stop it. I've had so many players like that.
And then you've got De Gea, who United have been consistently good and then inconsistently, you know.
And United played twice, right? They've got another double coming up as well. So
and then we don't really know with the Brighton goalkeepers, because you'd say whoever starts tonight is the one that's going to start for the next whatever. However,
well, because you don't want to be transferring goalkeepers.
No,
constantly.
exactly.
Not when you've got 5 game weeks left or something.
Yeah, but on the same coin, it may be that they say, well, we've got so many fixtures packed in between here and the end of the season. We'll give both goalkeepers, because both of them have been decent. So, I mean, I don't think you can really punish Sanchez for letting in 1 goal in the cup. You know, he did really well.
I think De Zerbi is flip-flopping between them.
Yeah, exactly. So I just don't, even if he starts one tonight, I don't think we can be necessarily confident that's it.
He's decided he's going to have an affair with both of them and sort of, you know, and just work out which one he wants to play.
just keep them both on the go, you know, just in case, whatever he feels like that week. So yeah, just in the goalkeepers, probably De Gea is probably the better of the bunch, but if it's for free, then yeah. Otherwise, I'd wait and see maybe what goes on in this game week, in game week 33, and then maybe settle. So Podge asks, he says, serious benching headache in game week 34, I guess, for pretty much everyone. Same really good single game week fixtures with the likes of Newcastle, Brentford, Leicester, even Arsenal with Chelsea at home. Is it worth selling or benching them for questionable doublers like Jota or Grealish? Which is a great point,
That's such a
because
good question.
we don't really know that
Yeah.
Jota or Grealish or anyone is nailed
No,
with so many fixtures. I mean,
no.
even the Brighton mids might not even be nailed. I
Yeah.
mean, I know we're hearing March is starting tonight. We did hear that one of the youngsters was going to be starting, so I wonder if that might be in place of
That's
McAllister.
it. Yeah, that's such a good
Tonight.
point and such a good question, because I think our natural reaction, right, is to go,
Heavy.
it's a double. We need to have double players, right? They're going to have 2 fixtures, and then we're making an assumption that they're going to score more because they have, and that's the natural sort of probability game, right? Like the likelihood of, sort of having a doubler. Yes, there's more points to be won, right?
Yeah.
But look, at the end of the day, and this is like a personal sort of learning that I've had, and I'm only in my, second season as well, but FPL is very much about who gets the most points, right? And so if you think Trippier, Tony, I don't know, Madison, even Martinelli, for example, if they're going to get more points against like a favorable fixture that they've got, then you should totally play them.
Yeah.
I've sort of had it, in the past, like double game weeks where I've played a single game week and they've outscored the doublers, right? So I think, again, it was like what we were talking about earlier with, having so much money in the bank, let me just go and spend all the money. To have double game weekers is really, really strong. But, if you've got a single game week player that will do good, don't take them out for a hit for sure, don't do the hit. But yeah, at least pick the doubler that is likely to have a good game, good 2 games at the very least.
Yeah. It's exactly as you say. So many times we get sucked into the double game weeks, and I've done it a fair few times this season, and a single game week player has outscored. I think tonight's game is going to be really interesting from the City Arsenal point. So if I see some real fight from Arsenal, even if we lose, which
they better fight.
Please don't. But if I see some real fight, that is going to make it really difficult for me, I think, to not consider them for the rest of the season. But whilst you're doing that, you're pretty much saying, I'm going to go without potentially an extra double game week player in some of these weeks down the line, because I could be, tripling up on Brighton mid, maybe sticking a Newcastle mid in. Yeah, there's so many other doublers, Liverpool, for instance, there's so many other situations, but you don't want to discount out the teams that are still fighting for something, even though they have a single game week player.
Yeah, exactly. Like Arsenal don't have any more doubles, right? But, Arsenal are still top of the table. They're still contending, they're retaining their throne, right? And so, of course they're going to fight. They have to fight, as a neutral. I'm really looking forward to that match. I'm going to wake up early for it.
I feel even sick just thinking about it. I'm like, I better have my dinner early, because I'm gonna be my washing machine already.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be okay. I just want to see fight out of this, and I mean, a draw wouldn't be terrible. Obviously would love a win, but I mean, it's like golden egg dragon's tooth win at the Etihad. So, I mean, if that happens, then I believe if we win. But I think it's going to be a tough one this evening.
It's going to be a good match. Yeah, like I say, as a neutral, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Okay, so from PSB, he says, thanks, a serious discussion to be had on captaincy, ignoring the EO. Who do you guys think is the best captaincy option for double game week 34, Salah or Haaland? For me, it's still Haaland. I know he's like percentage owned and stuff like that, but if we're even considering the fact that we may not get Salah in our teams, which of course we will obviously have him in by the end of play tonight when Salah scores a hat-trick against West Ham. But just on the off chance,
I'm not going to pretend.
but just on the off chance that we get lucky here, me and you just luck out for once, just once, we luck out here, and he doesn't do that, and we're sat here looking at a double game week where we may not be considering bringing him in, then the natural choice is Haaland, right?
Yeah, I reckon so. And again, I think this will come down to, are you chasing or are you defending? Is how I would probably look at it. If I'm chasing, I would probably go for Salah because he's going to be less owned. I'd like to think less owned than Haaland anyway. And captaincy wise, he'll be less captained as well. So just because, City do have a really good double game week fixture as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's where are you at? Are you defending? Are you chasing? Is it are you chasing rank? Is it your mini league? Have a look at what your mini league opponents are doing. I'm always looking at a couple of my mini league sort of those that are a couple of places above me, just to see where they're at, what they've got, and preempting what they might be thinking about doing as well. So if you think that they're at a point where they're probably going to be picking Haaland and you're all in for winning your mini league, chase, right, and go and captain Salah.
It's just, I look at Haaland's fixtures and I think, well, Fulham away, you would like to think, or you think City have got that in the bag, right? And then West Ham at home. Now, if it was away, I'd say, let's go Salah. But, West Ham at home, then that puts the ball back firmly in Haaland's court for me. The only question mark, I think you would say that Salah is nailed, where you would say there's a potential that Haaland could get some rotation. What with the other, with the other things going on?
Well, because Foden's back in the mix, right? And Foden has played up front as well as a 9, and you got Alvarez as well. So there's definitely options there. But it's also the what narrative do you want to sort of convince yourself with as well?
Yeah, obviously.
So if Salah bags a hat trick, right? I will probably be inclined to bring Salah in and captain him as well, because we know Salah can go on streaks, right? And they've got 2 home fixtures as well. He's trying to kind of get the goals bagged as well.
I think it's because people are just seeing Spurs as really easy at the moment as well, aren't they? And
that's right. That's right.
That's right. And they're at home, as you say, for 2 fixtures. Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's tough, honestly going to come down to what you're trying to do. Like, if you're chasing or are you defending?
Yeah, agreed.
And your risk appetite.
Yeah.
And if you actually want to watch the matches as well, because I'd be hiding.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just check who's on telly and if you're going to watch them. And if you are, then captain those. Okay, so I just want to rattle through these quickly. So Beth says, I'm currently planning to play 3 single game week players with good fixtures, Raya, Trippier and Tony. Otherwise, fairly template, highly owned doublers. Do you think that is okay, or should I consider hits for more doublers? I mean,
I think we covered this.
I think
a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, it's okay. I don't think we need to unnecessarily be like. It's just whether you, Beth, if you decide that you see maybe a double game week player in in the next couple of games that's maybe a bit differential to everyone else, and you think actually I quite like the look of maybe one of those as a bit of a punt. Otherwise, I think that's fine. Personally.
Yeah, I reckon so as well. Not for a hit anyway. I just feel like Tony's been trolling me the whole season. I've had him, I think, maybe once, and then he's just gone on a scoring sort of, every 2 game weeks or something like that. So I think not for a hit.
Bateman says, would you see McAllister to Matoma for a hit if Max at DM? No, not for me. Personally, it's sideways move. Consider maybe having both of them if you're going to do that. But no, I don't. No, I don't think so. Personally.
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe get both. Yeah.
Yeah. And then David says, how many doublers do you think are needed for 34 as a minimum? I think 9. What do you think? I think 10. I think 10. You're with most of the pack.
Yeah, I think
9 if you've got nice singlers.
Yeah, I think there's anywhere between 7 and 11, right? Like 7, 11. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people with the average of about 9. So yeah, but which ones though, right? Like
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like the single game weekers are pretty decent as well. There's some really good fixtures there. So is it worth it? Is what I would constantly be sort of asking myself.
Yeah,
I
completely
took like
agree.
45, 46 hits last season, so I've been really,
Conserved
cautious.
this time.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, just quick shout out to some people in the chat just before we head off. And we've got Nuclear Atoms in. Hey buddy, another mod. Can we completely rule Aki out in the double game week? I don't think so. I guess we'd need to wait on news on that one. David says, great stream. I played my wildcard this week. Took Mings out annoyingly, but he's done well for me in recent weeks. Well, yeah, at least you've had something out of him, I guess.
Yeah, I feel your pain.
Before we've got somebody watching in South Africa. That's cool. And somebody watching in the Solomon Islands, so that's cool. Nick says Stones vibe growing. Yeah, absolutely. Can see, especially if he starts and does well tonight, you could see a lot of people maybe going the Stones.
Yeah.
And
there's lots of questions about Jota. I think Jota's on a really good streak and he's playing really well. He's on form. He's more on form than Gakpo, Darwin and Diaz. I think he'll be, first choice up in front with Salah. And then, it'll probably be Gakpo alongside and then kind of, switcheroo between, Gakpo and Jota as well. Like he'll definitely be taken off, I reckon 60, 65, 70, that kind of thing. But yeah, Klopp won't want to bench him entirely, I don't think.
No, and I think the main thing to remember about Liverpool is they are not fighting for anything else now. So this is it for them.
That's right. This is it.
So I like, unless he decides we really can't get anything here and then just starts trying to rotate the squad to find out who he likes best with who, or what formations he likes best going forward, then I think we're going to see a pretty stable team between now and the end of the season, maybe with 1 or 2 changes just for rests or,
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah, it'll only be if we get some shock defeats, I think, in the next couple that he'll start really changing things up. But I wouldn't say we'll see many of them. Okay, guys, thank you all so much for watching. You've been brilliant. We've had a really great turnout, so we really appreciate that, because we know it is midweek, and we know that we don't have all of the information. So we've done the best we could for you guys. But this is the only time myself and Amira can do these, and with back-to-back game weeks, it's almost impossible. But hopefully we've helped a little bit, and sometimes it's just nice to chat about FPL and
totally.
and not have it like right up on your face going, this is the decision I need to make. Sometimes it's nice to just get a clarity of what you might do, and then the games help confirm that, rather than it being a yes/no decision. So that's really good. So Mira, would you like to tell people where they can find you? Although it is on the screen, but just
it is on the
them.
screen. You can find me on Twitter. I'm FPL Mares8 on Twitter.
Exclusively. And you can find me on Twitter with my handle there. I'm also on Instagram, and that's about it, I think. Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So please do like and sub. I would love to reach 7k before the end of the season. I know it's a massive ask though, but if you can help, that'd be great. And until next time, which will hopefully be the same time next week. I know we will be mid game weeks again next week. But
that's right. How annoying. But there you go.
It is what it is. And we will catch you soon. Until next time, Nuclear out.
Bye.
When